So we're going to start with the review and approval of the February 9th meeting minutes. So all in favor? Aye. Yes, approval. So they're approved. Thanks. Yeah. So I think we'll start with the discussion of the civic group, included in the Arbor Preservation Ordinance. The harm will provide a written jurisdiction, a justification as to why they are viewed as contributing resources. Based on the letter submitted by Grant, Dennis. But two of the buildings on Iona Avenue on a list will need written justification as to whether they should be removed or retained from the list. So we didn't discuss this last time. I think the discussion was they should remain on the list for purposes of. You want to discuss it?
These are about the Mary's Tailor Shop.
Yeah.
And what was the second? I'm not.
That have been on the
But I thought that was the only one that was even a question.
yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Because I think everything else is post dates
Yeah.
that.
But it was about the ramification of letting them go from the list and having no jurisdiction over the ruling, or keeping them on the list and having some minimal jurisdiction on them as to what goes on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of one of the things we talked about a lot is the fact that this isn't a preservation ordinance that really deals with protection of outstanding buildings, really trying to protect and preserve his scale and his sort of basically streetscape scale.
Yeah.
So that particular stretch of Iona has very small scale buildings across the street from it. I think it's divided between two zoning areas. I think that one, if you look at that whole parcel, the building where Giuliani's restaurant used to be,
Yeah.
is not one of the buildings that we have on our list anyway, because it's been so altered. But that said, we want to still be able to advise council on scale. Because we're really looking at, as with a lot of these projects, we're looking at how the impact of the scale on the neighboring historic district. Mary's Tailor Shop is sort of an interesting outlier in that the building actually dates from 1914, but not on that site. So it's an early building that then got moved in the 1940s and then put on that said site. So, I mean, it's really kind of an object. One of the things that I think that I would advocate for is if there was a development project there, I mean, that building was moved at least once or perhaps twice before. That we would advocate for it getting put somewhere else. It's very small. But it used to be.
It's also a very small site, so that not much can be done there.
Well, I'm
From a
looking at,
practical standpoint.
I'm looking at that more as if that's grouped together with
Yeah,
other
sure.
parcels. So yeah, in and of itself, it's not large at all. It's basically the tailor shop with an addition of that. But that was the original home of the Marion Civic Association in 1914. So it has a great significance for the surrounding township, but doesn't have sort of key significance.
Are you suggesting it should be deported?
No.
Yes, and yes, yeah. I just think, I mean, I think it would be interesting.
Well, we would have to check his paper.
Yeah. We don't know which itself. Anyway, but that's just, it's an interesting building. It's like I'm seeing it more as an architectural object in a way, so. It'd be interesting to try to see what might. Where it might go if it had to move from its current location.
So it's the other building next to it, the dance studio, was not included in this list of,
That post states.
okay.
So what do we have to do? To decide whether or not the buildings are retained or remain on the list or are removed from the list. And if so, why?
Well, other than the tailor shop, I'm still not clear on what the other one is. That's on that block.
Do you have?
Weren't there two different, I can find it. I thought it was two adjoining buildings that were both built in 1946. Let's see if I can find it.
I mean, there are a couple of others that were left off the list that are, I think, kind of more administrative. They're basically their errors. The one on Windsor that was accidentally left off the list. So it'd be a case of like correcting that listing. Fortunately, the Montgomery County Planning Authority put a really nice map together. So we now have an updated map of everything that shows very clearly buildings that are listed and buildings that are not. So it would be a much easier task for us to go around and like make any kind of corrections and then recommendations to council of things that should or shouldn't be on the list, because they're now called out in ways that we have never been called out on our earlier maps.
It's 307 and 317. I want to identify. Forget which one's the tailor shop.
I think the tailor shop's 317. I think 307 was listed mistakenly.
It's two doors to the right.
Yeah, I think that's the one that goes deep in the lot, Fred.
Yeah,
Yeah, that shouldn't have been on the list anyway, because that actually postdates 1948.
so I'm suggesting that it should be removed from the list.
Yeah.
Since it-
Yeah.
So we're down to Mary's.
We got it, Mary's.
Shop.
Yeah.
We know the thing is an oddity. And it has a history.
Mhm.
That's an interesting history, as far as I can say from my house. Therefore, I think it deserves some consideration, just on that basis alone.
I mean, my feeling is it should stay on the list, if for no other reason than to be able to participate in the conversation on what would happen to it. In terms of either it gets moved or it gets incorporated into a larger development. But I mean, I don't think I would remove it.
Meanwhile, it's got a little bit of protection from just being bulldozed.
Right.
So my opinion is we should keep it on the list for that reason.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
Still get bulldozed, not without some discussion.
Do you want to take a vote on it today?
Yes.
Sure. So everybody who thinks 317 Iona, the old tailor shop, should remain on the list. Say aye.
All right.
And anybody who says no. Okay. So that stays on the list, and 307 Iona is removed from the list.
Because it was,
Well, it's ultimately council's decision, but your recommendation is to keep.
right,
Yeah.
Hold on. Kevin, did you vote?
I'm on the same page with everybody. I don't think, I don't think that 307 should be on there and 317 should remain on there.
Okay, thanks.
We'll write something up and get that to the council the next day or so. And so. That said, we have a preliminary discussion on 102 North Essex Avenue. Tim Rubin and
Aaron Miller.
Aaron Miller. And And you go ahead.
Yeah, I can start, just give you a very brief backstory here. So the long story short is we obviously have the PLCB located at the train station on the little circle there, in an undersized store. It's been known to many people that this is a relatively small store and it's a very strong market. So those two things add up to they're always on the search for a prototype. So I've been on again, off again, working with the PLCB for a couple, probably going on 3 years to try and land them, keep them in the borough because they're an anchor and because they're a great town. So with the acquisition of 100 Essex, that introduced a new opportunity that postdated my initial, well, all my prior conversations with them were around the Cook property. We had issues with loading at the Cook property and accessing that back lot. This had a different dynamic. We flushed that out before we even had a second conversation with these folks to make sure the geometry worked. And then the original intent was to just backfill the bank building. That was the hope. However, and I'm compressing, a year plus of dialogue, two things surfaced. One was that we couldn't achieve the ceiling height that they needed for their shelving units, especially in the one-story portion of this. The 100 Essex building is kind of a two-story building that was at some point in time fused together with the one-story portion. Different buildings, different structures, different ceiling height. So we had to contemplate tearing the roof off and raising it up 3, 4, 5 feet to accommodate the prototype, which we were considering. However, while they were doing the early planning, they also determined that the minimum square footage that they could live with that would justify the move here would be require an additional, call it 2,600 square feet of expansion. So then you've uncorked land development at that point, and then it sort of negated any discussion about raising a roof or whatever. And we just figured that the logical way to approach this is to take the one-story portion, take it down, and then Aaron's going to get into all the detail, but oversimplifying, basically take this two-story and sort of fuse it on, the two-story addition, fuse it onto the two-story existing building. And we couldn't quite make it pencil for just PLCB. I mean, it's almost first grade math. If you're tearing down a building and doing land development and all that, involves just to get an additional couple thousand feet, it just doesn't make sense. So what we did was we sort of went with something that was not as ambitious as we would have otherwise considered. Just go 2 stories. We're doing a total of 4 apartments, but 3 of the 4 are new. One just is going to reside in the second floor of the existing building. So when you get down to it, I'll let Aaron discuss the detail. I think that's enough backstory. Aaron, do you want to jump in and walk them through it?
Yeah, I mean, we can just we might as well start with the renderings first here. So the site on Essex is generated, largely following the code. Helped us, with breaking up the facade.
Aaron, can I interrupt? If you'd like us to share it on the screen, if there's any way to send it to us, like via email now, if not, does anyone have a digital copy of this? No, okay. Just
It's online.
okay,
I don't have a digital copy of this.
This is the
right, this is different than what was given to us,
Today.
yeah. Okay, sorry.
No problem. So I guess as you can see in the facade of the new that we're adding, we followed the language of other existing one-story buildings with window heights, the 30-inch sill, sort of 7 foot head height, providing awnings to help articulate that space between the windows in the second floor. We've done some sort of projecting brick pilasters to help break up the facade as well. You can see that at the cornice line, where the balcony rail is. And the other thing that we picked up on was the little windows in the existing bank building. And so that we have those in the sort of slots between the awnings. Second floor is set back. We've looked at trying to align the gutter or the spring point for the pitch portion of the roof of the existing building, maintaining that. And if we take a quick look at the roof plans, we can on board. The idea with the pitch portions of the roof is to provide some interesting space over the living and dining areas in each unit. So we have 3 pitched roof forms. 2 of them are over the living and dining areas in the units, and then the third one on the south side of the page is the roof access stair for the unit that's going in the existing bank building. Material wise, we're lightening it up a bit, so not trying to match the brick of the existing, but we have some of the materials here. So a lighter kind of buff brick, cast stone sill, and then lightening up the pitched roof area. And I have some samples of those materials. And then for the windows, we were thinking of doing some like a warm, something that kind of reference wood without being wood. So we have sort of a warm metal clad window there.
Not black though.
Not black. I
Tell
mean,
me it's not.
it's not black. This right now is it's called French roast. We can go lighter than this if we need to. It's rendering in more of a honey color, so we can look for something a little closer to the rendering.
Can you talk a little bit about why you're changing the brick? You're adding on to the brick. I assume you're adding a layer of brick and brick.
That area actually is proposed to go down. This is new ground up construction.
Yeah, oh, okay. So
Yeah.
Is this designed to be one big open area on the first floor? I'm looking through the rendering of the window. I'm on the first page. There's a woman standing there, right behind her head is an exterior window, I think. Does that suggest that what you're doing is essentially opening up the original 100 building into one big open area,
Yes, that's correct.
essentially, so it's.
Yeah, what we had to do is essentially take many months of store planning on the state side. And then Aaron had to sort of integrate that into our plan. So what happens on the inside there has all been planned by Pennsylvania, by the PLCB.
Okay, but my question was, it's just one big open area to include the old original building, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay,
This wall's not here anymore.
Right, I mean, there's shelving, obviously, racks, it's a typical
okay,
store layout, but yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah, I don't have any of the interior furnishings in this rendering, so.
right,
I'm confused about the plane. We can get it on the screen, but I'll just hold this up. This is the plane. So this is retail. Big store retail here.
Correct.
What's this?
That's the storeroom portion.
Yeah, that's all,
Back of house.
that's the back of house. That's,
Okay.
and it's also wholesaling
And
back
this is
there.
where they need.
That's like a selling floor, if you want to say, but
Extra ceiling height.
that's where it was critical. But they also had needs in the back of the house as well, because they had racking systems, and that's a whole nother endeavor back there. It's
Okay.
more of a warehouse look.
I've never designed a state store. I've patronized the State Story
Me too,
more than once,
yes,
but I've never actually
yeah.
thought about.
Yeah. I
How
wouldn't
tall,
think it's that
how tall is the
complicated,
top
but
shelf?
it's just like six months of work on their part to get their architectural team out
The
here.
top shelf is too tall.
Stuff you can't afford and you can't even reach.
Yeah,
What's the corrugated siding material?
It's here, metal, typically we specify ATAS,
What is ATAS?
that's the manufacturer, so.
What
it's-
is, what kind
Oh,
of
it's galvan, so aluminum,
aluminum?
yeah, with a little polymer coating.
Seen before at previous design for
Up the street.
up the street.
right.
And not lovingly embraced
No,
by those of us here in Norwood. I gotta tell you,
Why that material?
Well, my recollection from our last, well, two things, I'll just start with. I think one of the things that we found interesting with providing the pitched roofs is being able to do the same material for the roof and for the walls, so you can create this, form, mass, shape, rather than just, putting, decorating each surface as a plane. Seems more of an object than.
We're not wedded to it by any,
good.
I mean, if the general opinion, look, I should have led by this meeting, the whole point of this meeting was our formal meeting is next month, but we wanted feedback. So we're not gonna come in, if you tell us that you're absolutely opposed to this material, then that's a no, taken back and we work it so that next month we know.
Let's,
I think-
it's
so
nice to have
let's
that
second
spirit
this.
of collaboration, but let's, if you don't mind, I would, like, let's not be hasty. Like, right, or we have discussion, like a fulsome discussion about that.
I think part of what led us to this material in the last project was originally we had second floor, we had masonry for the first floor, and then we had a setback area, the second floor, which I think our very first design was some type of
Hardy floor,
lot siding. And that got,
We got a lot of pushback.
Okay.
That I
So-
specifically remember, there was no love of the hardy board, and I think we came back later with this.
um,
So the design intent with that material was to make that story read more as a mass and less as planes that are,
yeah, I think that's, that was why we chose the same material for the roof as the walls.
and is that to make it less conspicuous from the street?
I can't say that was the point.
Okay.
No, it's like an aesthetic choice, but yeah. All right, what about the, so just to clarify, the original bank door entrance will probably be what, an emergency exit only perhaps, or it's
Yeah, I don't-
shown as operable in the drawings, but. I mean,
I don't believe that'll be active, right? And it's their main entrance is, where.
will it be still a door, or it will actually be non-operable? It's drawn with the swing, door swing.
I would think their preference would be for it to be not operable, but I know that having met, I don't know, Dennis, when we met there. Last year, let's say, there was an opinion that we should keep that door, that look, that aesthetic there. But as far as their operations, if they had their druthers, they'd rather not have anything there. They don't need that there, it just
Right,
exists.
you've drawn an airlock vestibule on the inside of the main, and signified the retail entrance. It's just on the drawing, it's still shown as a door, as is the door on Haverford Avenue, which I believe opens into an interior staircase today.
Yeah, we will correct the graphics.
That will be a sealed
Right.
wall.
Right.
But the main door of the bank is, so it won't be functional, but it'll still be the door.
Correct.
well, would you look through it and see in, or would it be the back of a shelf?
kind of have the layout in front of me. but
I think it's gonna change so many times. I can't say for certain what you're gonna see as I sit here. There's a bit of a evolving process, but
I would hope it's not looking in at the back of the shelf. That would be-
I would think, I mean, I don't want to speak for them, but I would think if there was a shelf there, they would probably black out the windows so you're not looking in at the back of any of the racking.
Should be spandrel glass. It would. It might be appropriate for an ATM outside if you find one, but I don't know, that's still.
Can you get liquor out of an ATM?
No, but you can get cash.
Yeah.
Indirect.
Maybe the approach to take is to de-emphasize it as an entrance, because looking at this elevation,
Yeah,
if I dropped in from outer space and I was dashing into this building, I would go to that.
Yeah,
that's
no,
an
I
entrance.
So there's gotta be some way
That's-
to,
that's an issue.
we have to preserve the architectural impediment there.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do, and
You
the,
don't have to preserve
this is
it.
literally the historic.
You don't have to, if it's not a door.
No, that's what I'm saying is, can we find a way to preserve the pediment that doesn't make it read like a door that's not a door?
Right, so right now, this is screening. This is the way into the building. The other one,
yeah,
the one that actually is the way into the building is, it's got the same, treatment overhead, it's got the same canopy. And it's, although it's, if you look at it, if you study it, you can tell it's different than the other two openings on the facade. It's the thing that is still screening entrance is the old bank entrance. So if it weren't bright white, for example, it wouldn't pop off the facade the way this does. Are we required by the Secretary of the Interior? to
Well,
keep it
that's-
white?
No,
No, you're not, but I think it still has to, whether or not it functions on the door, my feeling is that it's the main door of the bank, historic bank building. It still needs to read as a door, whether or not, and hey, worst comes to worst. You put a sign on it that says entrance to the liquor store is 10 feet to the right. I mean, I wouldn't want to lose that, because that's what, that doorway makes that bank building make sense. You know what I mean? So I mean, if you were building a brand new building there, of course, you wouldn't be sticking a major door element that isn't really a door. But that's the building that we found. That's the building, that's the building on the site that we're here to look out for. So that's my feeling about that. I don't think it's asking too much. I mean, we initially, when we first started, when we had our conversation on the sidewalk, it really talked about that remaining the main entrance to the liquor store, which really makes the most sense. From the standpoint of that particular building. So anyway, that's the feeling that I have, is that's an architectural element that we're here to.
And is there no way to do that? Make that the main entrance to the liquor store?
no, I mean, they have a strict like specification for everything to do with their.
The-
store.
the opening is not
Yeah.
large enough to that door, is that the issue?
Yeah, it's not nearly big enough.
It's not big enough.
No, it's not wide enough. It doesn't, it's the state of Pennsylvania. They're just checking boxes, and if things don't align, then, yeah, it's the state. But if the main entrance, future entrance to this was around the corner, I would share your concern, but I feel like the proximity helps us, because I mean, it's literally right there, and I think 90% of the people are gonna be, learn that, and they're repeat customers or whatever, and for the few people that are just one-offs, I do think we can address it through maybe some combination of putting a sign on the old door and probably highlighting things, doing things differently. This is a first pass on this elevation. There may be things we can do to make the actual operable door more prominent. Different awning
Well,
or.
that would certainly help.
or we could push back and tell them that this is what we want, and do they have any?
Well, no, the pushback with the state is, they have a million things they could be doing, and if you can't, I learned over years that you kind of have to go their way or the highway. I mean, they're
For historic,
non-negotiable. State.
for historic preservation, what we can say is, at some future date, it could turn back into a door if the use of the building ever changes.
Yeah.
It's not an irreversible change. So,
So is it a width issue? What's the width? I mean, as far as their objection?
Yeah, I'm sure it's width, I'm sure it's height, like they.
No, I wanna know. I mean,
Well, I can tell you this, I've already addressed it, have you addressed specifically the door with them?
Well, we had this in the last one too, they need a 10-foot, it's a 10-foot wide, bi-parting door, so you have a 5-foot opening.
I mean, it's
This
not
one
even
is
close.
3.
And but it doesn't even matter, you can be close but not quite there and they're not uncompromising on things, they kind of have a prototype. And they have enough going on in their world where if you can't accommodate it, then they say, we'll catch up with you on the next one. It's just their attitude. What do they care? I mean, it's the state, they don't care.
You sell shit pot of liquor out of that.
Well, they do, but they still have
It's the
that.
first one in the state, you know,
So it's,
it's the first self-serve liquor store in the state of
Oh, I
Pennsylvania.
didn't know.
if
Simultaneous with Society Hill.
Oh, interesting. Well, I'm not gonna tell them that, because then maybe they'll wanna stay.
If going forward, if you have the chance to tweak the design, you might look at any solutions that allow that door to be used for something. If the interior partitioning of the building were different, and even if you could put like a storage closet behind the door or something, and you could have a pop-up summertime tasting counter or something, or at the Dickens Festival. I'm just, like more of a Disneyland kind of door, but
Yeah, we'll bring it up.
it just, it's not a deal breaker. It's just, you have something to work with, and is there something you can do with it that's not the entrance to the liquor store? So,
Regarding the comment about the hierarchy, I am wondering if there is the ability to change the paint color, like can it be toned down? For the pediment, for the
Yeah.
windows, so it doesn't have to be white, like. Okay.
Yeah, we don't regulate paint color.
Okay, so that was the one, and then the second is perhaps that entry canopy at the main entrance, maybe should be treated differently, I don't know, I'm not sure, we'll have to look at that.
well,
look, people will read the entrance as the color that's unlike the other
Right,
colors.
right.
So that's just the intuitive design aspect. I think in our cascading hierarchy here is a door, the best door is one that functions as a door. And then there's our mandate is you can't change that door. If you're using spandrel glass or something so that the pediment stays, but it doesn't operate as a door, it's at least reversible from a preservation standpoint. Is that right? It's not an elegant solution, but that's better than changing that pediment. You don't seem happy, Jim.
I'm not happy until I see the thing not proclaim itself to be the
Right.
entrance to the complex.
I do personally, I think, Jim, it's a street of storefronts. We want more doors to activate the street anyway.
I don't want doors that you can walk through.
I respect that, because as do I. It's just that they're dealing
There are
with
things that
the,
could be done to strengthen what is effectively the main entrance.
Right.
And we could talk about that for a minute, because that's a design issue that's appropriate for the barb's attention.
But I
And
think
de-emphasize the entry-ness of the
Mhm.
door that was the
Won't
entrance to
function
the
as a
thing.
paint part.
Mhm.
But I think the point that you're only gonna make that mistake once is a really good one. In terms of you're only gonna go to that wrong spot once, but I mean, you can call more attention to the actual door, you could change the awning color,
Yeah.
signage, there's a lot of different things
Yeah,
to be
I'm sure there
done.
was.
So rather than kind of beating down the original door, I think you can kind of emphasize where you want people to go.
Yeah, and there will be, I'm sure, some sort of signage on that awning or what, I mean, they haven't even commented on this, is just the first batch.
Shouldn't be signage, you shouldn't rely on signage, is the last resort.
But I think the
direction giving. It really is. Right now, the parapet design is equivocal. It's no different than the two over here, it's just shorter. Okay, these,
Mhm.
it's a smaller
right,
bay.
they're all three treated the same way. But this one is special because that's the door. And that's why they put a pediment.
Mhm.
And that's why the window over top in the old bank is a little different than the other two windows, because it's accentuating where the door is on the street level. These are tricks that have been used for millennia.
Right.
No reason for us to have those tricks.
Well, here's another way to look at it, too. I mean. I'm reading, the way I'm looking at this, I'm feeling like these are basically two different buildings. And the liquor store is that little 3-bay building on the right. And that once they get inside, they'll say, oh, the liquor store extends to the left as well. I mean, I think that's the way functionally it works. Again, on a second visit to the building, if there's any confusion at the first. But I think that it's important for that main entrance to that building, main entrance to the key historic building that we're trying to look out for. I think that main entrance has to stay. It's the original
I
design.
don't disagree.
Okay.
I think just like you're saying,
How you get into the state store.
Yeah.
Yeah. An interesting comparison is the new Citizens Bank up at where the building has got a canopy at the extreme right-hand side of the facade. Is everybody familiar with that? Yeah. Of that new thing that's been built up there, but that's not the entrance to the bank.
I think it's a really different issue here.
Hmm?
I think it's a really different streetscape. I think this is a much more readable building. I think it's not as inscrutable as the new Citizens Bank is, which, got plugged into a space, and I would agree, that's fairly confusing. I'm not having that kind of confusion here. So.
no, I think, so what you're sort of suggesting, is there anything we can do with the architecture to really pump up the entrance, the new entrance?
The real main
And
entrance.
I would, rather than try to I personally wouldn't say, it's not about camouflaging the Greek pediment, it's just, so don't, because you could paint it, so it disappears, but it's it would be great if you could figure out something to do with it. I mean, if that continues to give it some utility somehow.
Well, somebody mentioned maybe an alcove for an ATM.
That was me, yeah.
That was good. Yeah, and I think that's a plausible use. It also keeps it reading as an opening, and you're not gonna have shelving shoved up against it. And it still function as a door if there's an ATM in there. So.
Yeah, I'll just add one more thing, is that from the streetscape perspective, another function of that pediment is that it's a terminus for Hefford Avenue. So you're seeing that pediment from all the way up the street. So it's significant visually in terms of the continuity of the commercial district. So it shouldn't hide, I don't think. It just
That's
shouldn't.
its original design,
Right.
it's new, full out.
Right.
Now, they're talking about an ATM as a possible use, and the fact that this bank went away, there's actually a lack of ATMs in town. And I think I would second that idea that if there were some opportunity to get somebody else to come back and open up.
Yeah,
something in that alcove, I mean, there's a consumer need.
I hear you, and I agree, and it's profitable, so, I mean, no argument here, however. I think operationally, the way those work is, it's a third party, it's obviously PLCB is not gonna run that or have anything to do with it.
Right.
And that third party is gonna have to like access the back of it pops in I don't know if you saw the way the old one worked, but I did because they removed it and there's guts to this thing that come project out into their store.
Right.
So I think they're gonna have pushback on the impact it's gonna have projecting out into their sales space. And I think their huge objection is gonna be that they don't want like a third party, like Chase Bank, going into their sales floor, like with Brinks people or however they operate. But I do think that we should go back to them and try and, it would be great to figure out a creative use for the door. I mean, it's on our list, 100%. I just don't want to kid myself.
Mhm.
The ATM, I'm gonna get some major pushback.
Okay, all right.
I think you can also look at, instead of having 3 awnings, that are the same height, the same texture as the one moving down the street, have a 3rd entrance at the entrance. It's different.
Yeah,
Right.
we're already
That's
on it.
nice.
He's already sketching things. Yeah, it's all good feedback. We're on it for sure.
Right.
We talk about the materials on the second floor now. I agree, I find that the metal, corrugated metal, especially from backside. Frankly, looks cheap. Corrugated metal to me has a connotation of a cheap tin shell. And frankly, I think it should be avoided unless it's in an accent.
So I know this is very preliminary, and I know budgets are a constraint usually. So, and it's like, so basically cognizant of, where we are and what we can possibly do. But I noticed in particular that your design has a lot of roof terrace. A lot about, what terrace is basically. Every apartment has something. 3 of them have. Yeah, they all have terraces. The 4th apartment has you have to walk upstairs to a roof terrace. And they're different than the previous rendering.
Yes.
But still, the concept is more or less the same. So what I was gonna say is just that, like, there's gotta be an affordable way to work with that indoor-outdoor aesthetic that frankly is, I would think, a differentiator for these units, right? That's different than a lot of other apartments may offer. So it's not about like maybe having a really expensive design, but what I think about with the metal is it gets hot in the summer. So if you're trying to like sit outside, that in the evening, that heat is going to radiate probably back out of the metal maybe, and it's light colored, which is good for keeping the building cooler, but it's going to reflect on whoever's standing there in front of it, right? So do you want to put in like a arbors or brise soleil or something that kind of maybe also moderates between the street and the building, and might de-emphasize the materiality of the second story, which is a less expensive material probably than the brick is. I also like, I get the idea of like, oh yeah, I wanted to have the roof and the walls be the same material. I think that's kind of a conceit, right? You almost never see a building that has the roof and the walls the same material, and I would assume I'm not sure why you would do that, but what value it adds for anybody, but so I'm not like rejecting it instantly or anything. I'm not seeing how it's really selling the project. But whereas these terraces, it seems to me like that could be a big part of the story of these units, right? Like about you get invited to a dinner party of that unit, you're going to remember it, right? Because you have this walkout. The other thing is that the way it was drawn suggests that you couldn't walk to the edge, to the railing, maybe. And I would think that if you had these balcony type terraces, that everyone's going to want to walk to the edge and look out. So it's just an observation. And after we're done talking about the materiality of the second floor, I also had questions about the rear, but in the course of the discussion. I don't think that brise soleil or like arbors cost that much. They're just usually practical members that are together. But they really break up how your eye perceives the structure. And maybe some shade, right, for the terrace. In summer in particular. I don't think you'd see the siding if you did that.
Yeah, I think we had quite finished these renderings, obviously, there's a lot of development that needs to take place. And I think perhaps on this main elevation, I mean, I think it would be interesting to have that, it will make the map, it will make the building, it could make the building feel a little taller, but you bring in another element at a higher elevation and closer to the street.
Yeah, but it's a 3-story building across the street and it's a 2-story bank, so you're not creating a 2-story wall even, you would just be adding kind of a light. I'm not saying you have to or anything, I'm just sort of trying to figure out how do we de-emphasize that the second floor, it's gonna be siding of some kind, right? So. And also domesticate it, right? So I think that, I mean, vertical corrugated metal, aluminum at least one's not gonna rust, right? But that is an industrial material rarely used in Pennsylvania. It's a kind of Western farm material, intended to be really cheap and portable and easy to work with, but not a domestic or commercial material normally. And so I realize that you're kind of going for a playful thing and maybe that's appropriate. But it, you know, like you're marrying your building to a building that literally has a Greek pediment on it. So it's kind of a jumble of different aesthetics, you know, like contemporary modernist and neoclassical small town Disneyland, and then this sort of agro-industrial aesthetic. So I think that if you use the terraces to domesticate the second floor, it'll go a long way to actually achieving what you're trying to achieve, but recognizing that, you know, you have to have a cost-effective project as well.
Yes, maybe before we can take a look at the plan to explain the lower level. So I know there's quite a bit of grade change from the main retail entrance to the parking. Sure, I mean, we could either AS 101 would be fine, or the A 101 basically same plan scale. But I guess on F 101 you can see the grade changes from 271 down to like 266 and a half, 267. So quite a bit of grade change. So
Yeah.
at the apartment entrance, you know, obviously we got an elevator to stair up to the unit's second floor, and then we need access to the storeroom for the PLCB, or with wholesale. Thank you. So ramp to carry larger, you know, boxes, whatever, down, and then there's a loading dock and steps to get into that wholesale area. And we have a planted area in between, so I guess we go look at the rendering, and we're thinking of bringing some color to the entry and to the material on the storeroom. Doing some board-formed concrete at the ramp. And then canopies in sort of a dark bluish gray metal.
So now it only has one loading dock, basically.
Yeah,
It formerly had two, and
so
then
you have an exterior platform for the dock loading.
Correct.
And when well, these are tractor trailers coming in 55 feet, right? Have you reviewed with them what LTV about circulation and
Yeah.
access?
Ran all the geometry, everything,
Uh-huh.
getting in, maneuvering, getting out.
is there a second curb cut in the design?
Yeah, we
It has to be on the out.
this is the south side,
Yeah,
basically in the middle of the lot.
all right,
Or,
because
sorry, not the south, the plan lot left.
they're pulling in parallel to the building. And there's the swing room factory, that's dumpsters over there.
Yes.
That's gonna be tight, and I would encourage you to do something to reinforce, side of the building and the platform itself. I don't know. You're gonna have big holes inside of the building.
Well, they do have the base course of the building is brick, the first 4 feet maybe, and then they have siding above that.
Harder to repair.
Some metal holes or something, because your building's gonna get whacked, as will that pretty dock platform.
And they do it now across the street.
It's a very tight lot.
They use a different size truck and they back it up to that. It looks basically like a door. Just a glorified door on the back of the building.
There are two, right? Aren't there two?
Right by the end of Essex in the back there.
Yeah, you go around the back and there's a door elevated out by 4 feet, 5 feet.
Do they come in on shorter trucks there?
Yeah, they do. Which I asked them to do for Cook and no doubt. That's a perfect example of no, won't have to
So
have
they-
the ability for the prototype to do a bigger truck. I said, but you don't use a bigger
You don't
truck
have
now.
that.
And they said,
Stop too good.
not checking the box, deal's dead. And that deal died. That's exactly why that deal died.
So it's gotta accommodate the 50.
Yeah, it does.
foot
Not that they're gonna necessarily use it every time or any time, but it needs to be able to.
But you'll be supplying the diagrams of how it'll work.
Yeah, that was the first exercise that the site engineering folks ran. Yes, we'll share that.
Any thoughts of streetscaping all along Haverford Avenue?
Yeah, we have the land, I have the landscape plans in an email on the phone. They have, I think there's 8 trees along that parking lot edge. There's another tree along the south side of the existing bank. And then there's the existing tree on the Essex side, which you can see in the rendering, and we have a tree pit there, but we did not show the trees, and you can see the building.
Yeah, we actually made a conscious choice to not put the trees in for this meeting, just so you could concentrate on the soil.
Understood. Did you, is there any way that so the bicycle parking is intended to be covered? Is that shown in the drawings?
I don't have a cover over the parking, or whatever parking.
Okay, AS 101, for example, labels it long-term covered bicycle parking space, so covered, but the drawing doesn't show that. So what I guess I suggest is that I don't have an easy solution at hand, but you know, the bicycle parking there is intended for the residents to store their bicycles in, and like you put it behind the dumpsters, which is probably like the stinkiest, worst place to be. But is there a way we can have an indoor bicycle room that is as convenient as possible for the residents? That meets the intent, and then certainly there's a, you know, it isn't drawn, it's just drawn as bicycle racks on the drawing, so. But the intent is to have bicycle storage. I think I'm not 100% on how it's done at the new Citizens Bank building, but I think they might have like an interior bicycle area.
Adam, the long-term bike parking spaces that are required here, by the definition in the zoning code, they're required to be fully protected by the weather. So that will be either indoors or roofed at least, but probably indoors. And then the short-term bike parking spaces that are required are usually just like, you know, those upside down U's that are in the sidewalk.
Thank you, Kevin.
I'll agree. I've just said putting the bike parking by the dumpsters is not good.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm just like, we'll look at this.
Yeah, I don't know whether we're gonna be able to get her inside, but we could probably create a covered area where you can access it away from your dumpster.
Well, again, the intent of the, Kevin's the zoning officer, but I think the intent is that they're in a building of some kind, like they're fully enclosed.
Yeah, I get it. Yep.
I'm stuck on the truck loading and I'm looking at the curb cut. And imagining the truck pulling in and then backing up while cars are still coming in. And it seems tight. And it seems like it could be a potential conflict between truck backing up and cars pulling in the same place. And I wonder if a curb cut could be wider so that there's more room for vehicles to get around each other. How are you going to navigate and control traffic when you got a truck backing into the entranceway? Unless you got a guy there directing traffic every time. You're backing into an entranceway.
Well,
Wait,
Can you
go
make
ahead,
it-
Brett,
can you
say,
make it
keep
a
talking,
wider-
because I'm trying to understand, I didn't get you the first time. They're coming in here and then backing in.
You're backing into an area that's an entranceway for cars.
It's the part.
Oh, I see, when they're loading, one cannot
They're
also
loading and
enter.
Backing up.
Okay.
To the dock. They're doing that in an area where cars are coming in.
Okay,
Who's gonna park in this lot? Customers,
Customers and we have four parking.
And everybody else.
occupants of the apartments.
Right, four, there's only four of them. I imagine we assign 4 spots to the,
But they'd be in here too.
yeah,
Sure.
So, I don't know, you've got this triangle marked off. This piece that I guess is an area that's planted or something. I don't know what that is, this triangle type thing right next to the entrance.
yeah,
Yeah, like I said, this does not fully capture the landscape design.
Right.
There's another planter planted dead at the other
Okay, well,
corner.
I'm just wondering though, if there could be more. The one solution would be 2 lanes going in. One for a truck and one for a car going around it. And then you just make a bigger curb cut. I don't normally advocate for more curb cuts, but in this case, you got the need for 2 vehicles.
it would probably take a spot, one of the additional spots, but That's
Maybe
the-
there's that area that's designated as something, I guess it's to be planted.
let me talk to the engineer about that, because like I said, he spent a lot of time on this and went back and forth with the LCB on it.
Right.
And we're not equipped to give you the details. I can tell you it's been well thought out. But I don't think, I can talk to him and we can talk, we don't have to wait till the next meeting. I could feed you in, like I can reach out and explain, but I don't think either Aaron or myself are the right ones to address it.
Right, I'm just
Because he's run all the
conveying to you my
jobs.
concerns for.
No, I understand. I totally understand your concern. I mean, he meant like, again, I'm not the right one to talk about it, but he might say that you don't want another car coming in as the truck is parking,
Then
it's
you need
equally
somebody standing
dangerous.
there directing traffic every time the truck backs up.
Yeah, I mean, it's. They don't load very often. I mean, I know that this store loads Tuesday mornings at like 8:30 to 9. That's it. So I mean, you're not talking about like Wawa here or anything. It's very infrequent, number one. You're talking about
If it's off hours, then
probably,
Yeah,
but
it's
that's what I want to get feedback on. It'll likely be early in the morning.
That's
So
exactly.
they're gonna do wholesale business here too.
Yeah, they'll sell to the restaurants and yes.
So
the
restaurants and whatnot are gonna have their smaller vehicles.
Yeah, but they're small, yeah, like maybe a van or
Yeah,
yeah, it's not like the restaurants and the wholesalers are coming in with trucks.
the spec requires this wheelbase 50 truck, which is a 43-foot trailer. Do we have any information if they will be more likely to use the 43-foot trailer than 30-foot trailer or?
They weren't committal, they just wanted the optionality.
They definitely.
And also, I guess it's to do with, this is one of the pushbacks I got when I said you don't need it now is they said, yeah, but that's not a prototype. We're gonna do presumably a much different volume out of the store. It's a bigger, better store. And so they wanted their options. They were non-committal.
Is there only one type of store that's still do? Are they inflexible?
No, but they have like a range of size, like, for instance, the existing building was called 5,500 feet, give or take. And they needed to be 76 minimum. So, but they can be bigger, you know, they have a range. The range tends to be 7 something up to 10 something.
What's this one?
76, I think we settled on.
77, okay.
That was 76.
So wholesale, vans and such coming in,
Sometimes, yeah, I mean, it's just
and
a
they're.
different customer that wants to, because it's bulk, they just want to be able to take it right out.
Are they gonna hand load? They're not coming in? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a different customer that has, you know, I see them in their existing stores.
At
That
most, they're.
several cases,
pushing
maybe a pallet that goes out to a van or something, yeah.
What else do we need to talk about?
So the existing building has a lot of historic wood windows. And the right thing to do for historic preservation would be to recondition the where you can't. It's in the, it would be, they're wooden sashes in the bank, basically. I actually don't think it will cost more than replacing them. They would just be classic windows instead of new ones, but. They have storms, the paint isn't, they need to be repainted and so on, but like. Talk to Kathleen, Ackland, she'll let you know what to do, but.
The brick to be repointed.
And cleaned and.
Clean.
Yeah, that's what we may actually take a look at all of that and then make some recommendations. But I think that's a good point about the windows. I mean, I remember, I didn't look at them lately, but I remember they need some maintenance, but they're all there. And that would actually save you a lot. You didn't have to be pulling out the windows there. And you can either go with an interior storm or an exterior storm. I mean, we just had some new exterior storms made and they're really.
I mean, the ground floor ones are the liquor store, so I mean, ideally they wouldn't close them off, but if they might want to close them off, in which case they'll be expandable windows, but you can take care of them again and they can just be opened up someday in the future, if that's the case. I don't know if we have requirements for retail, how much windowing we have to have, but in the zoning, but I have to check. That's a zoning compliance issue, but sometimes you're required to have a certain amount of glass in your wall, right? And then a lot of, yeah.
Percentage based on the building type, so that'll all be handled by zoning.
There'll be a desire often by retail tenants to just cover those windows, even though they're required, and they'll just put plastic film, nothing else over them, so they're not actually see-through, but anyway, the intent is to be able to have eyes on the street and, you know, like not have a blank wall. But the second floor will be your apartment, and so then it's, you know, the windows are all operable windows for the apartment.
So we'll lose 2 windows in the rear with the new construction to the original windows in that bank building.
I don't have the demo plan if it's walking up the street there, but the back, yeah, this portion of the back where where there's an existing stair and we're proposing a new stair. I'm not sure, I mean, all the one story is going to the bank. Yes, well, we're
Keeping 1.
yeah. So, yeah, and then the existing brick butts up, runs perpendicular to that wall. And I don't remember what's on that back.
There's a couple
Right
of
there. Okay.
Um,
It would be helpful to have a demo plan. That'd be very good, especially for, for us.
like existing conditions.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I mean, have you considered how the apartments will be? Like, where does, like, how packages will be handled and the sort of lobby experience? It's very small lobby.
Yeah, it's small one.
Where is the lobby?
It's off of
It's on the
Haverford
side.
Avenue.
AS 101 plan shows apartment entrance. I mean, but keep in mind, it's only 4 apartments, so it's,
Yeah,
you don't need a big lobby.
Right.
I imagine if it's like our other buildings, the drop offs would be in that tiny lobby here.
There will be some room below the first landing of the steps, although it doesn't go very high, so I don't think we're gonna get a lot in there.
Immediately on the left when you enter? Okay.
But
you
that's-
need a package room of some kind, right? Or-
Yeah, we're not gonna get a package room over there. We are planning on moving the elevator machine room, or control room to the basement, which should open up a little space next to the elevator. So that's another possibility.
That's a package room right there.
Yeah.
That's good.
Uh, um. Just an architectural comment, your corridor to unit 3. Like, it just seems like you could have the door where the wall is between apartment 2 and apartment 3. As opposed to having an extra 20-foot of corridor, but.
We could, so, yes, I think. I'm not sure how that would feel as an entry, having a long corridor in the entry. I mean, we've had.
Well,
We're not done with the unit plans, I'll just put it that way, they're very, very preliminary. Those 2 units were previously mirrored with those courtyards to the bedroom at either side. We thought that based on the fact that you could, someday someone's probably gonna build another building to the. Where the other 1-story,
The north of it?
yeah. That we didn't necessarily want those courtyards to be up against the adjacent buildings, you get less light, so.
How does this work? Are those open, they're open to the sky?
Yes.
Skylit,
They're open to the sky, they're outdoor.
they're outdoor.
They're like the little exercise yard at Eastern State Penitentiary.
I was just at Eastern State today. Yeah.
You'll see another human being in a year. If you're still sane. Otherwise, you'll see multiple human beings if they won't be there.
Nice parallel.
Wait, I didn't fully understand it. So Adam, the point was, why lose that square footage with the corridor if you just put the entrance a little further up?
They'll decide what they want to do. Yeah, whether.
Is there
Well,
some kind of explanation for that or?
well. I think I have a suggestion, between the door where you see the demising wall between apartments 3 and 2.
Right,
Then you'd have this long corridor just to get to your inside the unit, so
yeah,
it's in the unit or it's out the outside.
Well,
It-
look.
It's,
Apartment 4 has this outdoor terrace that just seems like a lot of terrace to maintain. And I don't know, I don't know, like, there's a lot of terrace, like a lot more than you would normally see. And so I do wonder if you could basically do more with that second floor and maybe tighten up the terraces, but and to that point, a traditional, like if it's an upper class apartment would often have a receiving foyer. And I was, I'm not sure what these are relatively large units. That one's only 1,300 square feet. But the biggest one is over 1,600 square feet. But you have a receiving hall for your guests, and that is also sometimes you put your art there or whatever. But it's like the exterior, having a long corridor that's a public corridor is different. I'm not saying you have a long, skinny private corridor. It's just you could work your floor plans to try to, increase the utility of the space, maximize the potential of the units, whatever. It's not a big deal. The classic, when they first were doing apartments in like the 20s, that's, you kind of come into a receiving hall, and that's where you take people's coats and you welcome them, and there's usually mirrors or art or something. And
What would you say?
That's where you put your potted palm,
What does that mean?
big plant.
Oh, potted palm. Oh, okay. Sorry. That's different. Okay.
Next
This
door
is
to
an
Pat.
elevator, right?
Yes,
I do see an elevator.
yeah.
There's one elevator, yeah. Four apartments.
I mean, we shouldn't pick at this. This is fairly, very preliminary.
Yeah.
Plan.
You could put a window in your stairwell. Is that allowed, or?
We have 4 windows in the stairwell. They're on the west facing side.
At each, we're gonna make a landing. At the top and bottom landing, but not the middle landing.
You take a look at the, second page. It just might not be showing in the plan based on where it's cut.
Yeah, well, let's see, so it's facing. I see, so it faces the parking direction. Opposed to the street direction. Fair, fine.
The only windows for apartments 2 and 3 are the ones that look on the terraces in front. Is that right?
They all have light ports.
Yeah. They don't open into the room, yeah, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The courtyard.
The bedrooms face the light court, but
Correct.
Lower east side. The attack.
The garment.
Yeah.
It's only 1 story there.
yeah.
So there's a lot there.
What's that?
That's enough feedback for a preliminary plan?
Yeah.
There's enough there.
Yeah.
Why don't we cut it there?
Do you have any questions for us?
You have a question?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot.
I guess I'm just curious about what materials you feel,
Yeah,
would be appropriate.
I did have a question on that one, which was, can it be like iterative, and as opposed to us like saying surprise next month with the material that we choose? Can we show you some possibilities and get some feedback before next month? Is that a possibility? Or do you want us to just use our best judgment,
I'd say you can just like some opportunities and.
get a little quick feedback?
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be great, rather than having to wait.
Well, yeah, because my fear, and again, I should have mentioned this in the beginning, I'm up against the timeline with these folks. They're not the most flexible bunch.
We're getting that idea.
Yeah. And we want to get in the ground. It's not a big project, but it's conservatively a year. And we want to get in the ground this calendar year so that we can deliver at the end of next calendar year. So the delivery and the release is the fall of 2027. to be up to like November 1st. It can slip a little bit because no one's gonna start a project and wait and hope that it can slip a little bit, but it can't slip a lot. So that's why I'm nervous. So I wanna, as much as I can avoid, like if I can get things feedback before a meeting so that we don't surprise you and force decisions on the spot. I'd love to be let it be a little more back and forth. That'd be great.
Well, so are there really other deal breakers here that?
I'd like to see an alternative to the metal.
But,
Because the metal is just wrong.
Okay,
Well, but-
accordion. Okay.
But like the most likely alternative to metal tends to be the hardy board plank siding, and is that really gonna look better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't like, all right, like I don't love the metal, but I'm not sure I love, so the thing about this design. Is that the backside, it's not like, I don't think it's a big deal, to be honest, but it's the backside is. Is architecturally kind of a jumble, and maybe that's a good thing, but it's industrial, right? You have the warehouse. There's a windowless box, right? And a loading dock, dumpsters. It's basically industrial. It's gonna help if you put some street trees on the parking lot, because that's not shown in the plan. Maybe you can do something with the terrace again to give it some kind of, so if it's all this grain silo siding, it's like you have this 2-story, 2.5-story, industrial aesthetic. And then it's sort of a mishmash of shapes and window placings. But if you just do the siding, I mean, maybe they'll come up with some way to make it look nice, but it's a lot of siding, and there's no windows on the
What
on the
about a
warehouse.
combination of materials? Maybe some accent.
Yeah, one of the things that they're coming. In a way, you could differentiate the nature of the loading dock from the residential. Right now, it all reads as an industrial base. The other thing that concern I would have in terms of the visuals on it is, I know you have stairwell windows on the back, but that kind of unrelieved stair tower on that side. I mean, I think if there was sort of windows go up through not just the stairwell, but for the landings as well. Because that's a very, I mean, I like the entrance and the entrance works, but that sort of big unrelieved, and maybe it even reads more that way with the
Talking about this elevation above the
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can work.
Yeah, I mean, that's Haverford Avenue, right? That's really this building has two fronts, honestly, And it's our prime, our prime artery through town.
Mhm.
And I kind of think that, you need to have a loading dock back there, but I think you need to kind of sweeten that up,
Okay.
so.
So make a call to Kevin in the next week or two, and he'll get in touch with me and reach out to outside at the front of the building. Look at the material.
And Tim, in the meantime, can you get me electronic copies of everything that you brought tonight? I didn't get those yet, and obviously I'm not seeing them.
I'll get you everything. Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
If we are concluding here, would there be an opportunity for you to tell us a little bit about what's happening up the street in a couple of minutes? I saw in the notes about the little gym having an apartment that's ready, is that correct? Or
Oh, yeah, that's done. There's an occupant in there.
the whole building
Yeah,
is?
building's done in November. I think Kevin gave us our CO. Can't remember when, but last year.
Okay,
In December, probably.
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
What about the big project?
The big project right now, it's a long story, but the long story short is that things completely out of my control and our control, like interest rates, exit cap rates, construction costs, rental rates, for all these factors get tossed in the mixing bowl. And I was giving it time because that was happening while I was in the approval process. Like I would come here at night present something knowing that at that moment, it wasn't feasible due to rates and construction costs. But those things, you know, it's fluid, it changes, it ebbs and flows. I waited, I can't wait anymore. So at the moment, what we're working on is backfilling the stores. It's an experiment though. We're gonna see whether, number one, this could be a short-term type thing. It could be an experiment that fails where we can't get deals done at the economics we need or whatever, and we revert back to, you know, square one. It could be that the overall backdrop changes, rates come down, something happens, just like they shot up, they can come down. But at the
That
moment,
means you're gonna need to do short-term leases.
yeah, well, I think more realistically, if you're gonna convince a good tenant, a good quality tenant to move into a space, it would be the rare exception unless it's a pop-up concept where they're gonna agree to get the heave-ho after a couple of years, 3 years. So
Right.
if this experiment bears fruit, then I think the idea is that sadly for me, because that was like a 2-year undertaking, and if you count the whole process, we closed right before COVID. So I mean, we worked on drawings going back as far as like 2019. It's a lot of money and a lot of time, but it is what it is. So right now we're working to backfill the stores. And if it works out, then what would happen is we obviously got renovated the little gym, the little, what I call the revival building at 258. We did a permanent deal with Swan. We relocated them. And then we did Kevin knows all of this. He's seen it all a million times. We did a nice little 1-bedroom unit above the Swan Dance. So kind of working like counterclockwise. We took care of Little Gym, it's beautiful. Took care of 258, squared away. We would certainly want to do a couple apartments above the Get Cafe building. And then Get Cafe bought a building, so they're gonna leave. And then, we'll backfill that. Regardless, land development or not, that building was always gonna stay, so we'll pop a tenant in where Get is. We'll do 2 apartments above. That building will be shined up. And at the end of the day, you just,
All right.
you don't do the right now as I sit here. But again, things change. I mean,
So are you gonna do all the stores re-tenanted?
yeah, I mean, there was consideration for me to try and sort of, originally when we did the land development, we had it phased because the Get building stayed, and we called the bigger phase 1. And the idea was build phase 1, take the shift girls, move them, and then do what we called phase 2, the little building that had the oh my gosh, what was that? Mansard roof, the Mansard roof building. So there was consideration to keep the ball rolling. We did the little gym, we did 258. Do you do the little Mansard roof building? But long story short, it's a whole lot of work and a whole lot of time and a whole lot of effort and a whole lot of complication to tease that apart from the bigger land development. And the net yield is 2 apartments. So it just doesn't seem worth it. So right now, it's backfilling all the stores. And we're out to everybody and their mother. We waited through the holiday season and then we hit the ground running this calendar year, and we've been out and had many prospects through, and but no deals. So lots of prospects to be, but that's a process. We know that from 100 and from 203. It doesn't happen overnight.
You're gonna need to do some facelifting on some of the things.
But it would be case by case. You wouldn't want to design or do anything until you have your deals in place. But yeah, sure, you would do storefronts.
Case by case is the Nordberg way.
Yeah, that's what you like.
That's how these things got built in the first place.
Yeah.
But case by case is okay when you're looking at individual properties side by side,
Right.
that they don't need to be uniform.
Right, exactly. I mean, we're just, we're gonna do it on an individual basis, and I think that's perfectly, consistent with everything in the little downtown, so.
Needless to say, we will be seeing you again on those for facade stuff.
Yeah,
Is that true? They have to come to the.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, we'll see you next month. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, keep this party going.
Well, that's
Okay.
an update. I didn't know that, and,
Things change.
yeah, there's.
Unfortunately, I've
You got a
got,
new restaurant that opened, right?
yeah, with Maluka, yeah, you're doing well.
You can't get a tape? There's some bit.
Yeah, we'll see, things will calm down, they always do.
Yeah.
So far, so good. Yeah, unfortunately, the cook thing is not, it's not, unique. We have the Delaporta joint ventures and Haverford, and we have, South Bremar Ave, and then, it took Piazza a miracle to get out of the ground. There's just things mothballed all over the place. Because the old formula, just throw it away, everything changed.
Formula called cheap money.
Yeah, well, it's a combination. It's the rates, it's the construction. And here, to be candid, again, like just being honest, we didn't achieve the rents for the units that we had hoped. And it's not like we're under the Elm or under Montgomery Avenue. It's just the market is not at the moment justifying, it's barely justifying new construction. Like in some cases, it might make sense. Like here, we're willing to take a flyer, but we did the bare minimum number of units, four
Just
units.
lower risk.
Yeah, we tried to really work, I mean, this is obviously early stage, but we tried to do outdoor, things that we know people, we'll make these unique.
These are big units.
Yeah, they're big, but we couldn't squeeze more units in. It created ingress egress problems. So we unfortunately were left with unusually large units, which
Well, they're not that big. They're 1,300.
they're pretty big. I mean, that's definitely
Then
skewing on the
discount.
big side.
500 square foot. unit.
Like our 2-bedroom units in 203 where Maluka is are more like 1,000.
I mean, like it's not my area, and maybe you're doing research on the apartment design, but yeah. So whatever people's advice are, and what's going to make them attract particular tenants, like what are they looking for? Is it more storage space, more closet
They like
space?
closets, they like storage. But here's the funny thing. When we were in here getting approvals for Cook, the feedback I got from the world was that demand here skewed more to empty nesters, less to young professional. So instead of being like even up, it skewed a little more toward an empty nester, and the bigger the better the unit. And what we found over the last year is that's absolutely not the case now. Now things change. I'm sure it was the case. I don't think people were lying to me, but there was a waiting list at one point in time at the Elm for the bigger units, $5,000-$6,000 rents, waiting list, like 1 year waiting list. Over the last year, all demand has been like primarily geared towards the smaller units. Like the 1-bedrooms are right now the unit of choice, but as my great luck would have it, we don't have 1-bedrooms here.
So those aren't really your empty nesters then, the 1-bedroom units, or?
No, but that's the funny thing, and we're not seeing as many, I mean, not to say we don't lease to empty nesters, but not as many as we thought. And we have
They had a
beautiful,
hard time getting rid of their stuff.
yeah,
So.
but then we did the big units at the Little Gym, which you saw,
Yeah.
beautiful big units,
Big units like.
and built like a brick shit house, like
It
the
is.
concrete, yeah, I mean, it's a fortress. No noise, you can't hear your neighbor,
It was for cars.
big sprawling, big sprawling units, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
What are the?
And
units?
as
What size?
we have 1,500 plus foot units there, not only 2 of them, but big, beautiful units that are unique to the market.
3-bedroom?
Crickets. No, they could have been 3s. We just made them very spacious 2s, huge 2s with 2 means of egress.
And they didn't
So
move.
what are?
Well, I mean,
What are they renting for?
Well, that's the problem. When you build new, your formula is always based on a per square foot rent.
Right.
It's not a monthly rent, it's per square foot. So when you have a bigger unit, you apply that same per square foot that you have for a 1-bedroom to a big 2-bedroom, and you end up in some cases over 5 for the really, really big ones. But they're unique, and thank goodness I don't have dozens or hundreds of these things. I mean, we're talking about the really big ones I have at the Little Gym, there's only 2.
Mhm.
And here we'll have 4, but these are gonna be presumably really unique units with big outdoor decks and,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, there's not been the demand, so, that's another problem. You really wanna build, the magic numbers like downtown and anywhere, it's like $4 a foot. The Piazza would have modeled 4, and they probably would have escalated it for the couple of years of construction. So they may be modeling like 4.25 a foot, 1,000 foot unit, 400 and, 4,250 a month. That's kind of what you need to make it work, and I'm getting 325 to 330, which is like, why do you build?
Mhm.
But,
Okay.
sorry, man, that's too much information.
No, thank you for that. So,
Interesting.
tell me before about proof of concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
That's great, thank you.
So any new business? Sorry, new business? No.
I have one short, which is Dennis and I seem to have been received with some enthusiasm by Caroline Abi Qatar,
Yeah.
who is a resident of one of the houses on Grayling for the marker. So I,
102.
oh, 102. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Molly introduced us. We haven't met with her. We will try to meet with her. She is at least willing.
Very nice.
Yeah.
In the email, she seems very nice, and seems like so you're looking at, I guess, probably next week.
Yeah, hopefully.
So what kind of reception did you get?
I'm traveling, but I would love to meet you both and hear about the project. Sounds good.
Yeah, it does, considering the alternative.
Yeah.
It's just been like, it's all, right? So anyway.
So you're talking about an owner of a house.
Yeah.
Where the sign could go.
With
Who
the
would-
marker. Oh, did you miss last week?
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Our initial idea
Kind of great.
met with limited positive reception, but we thank Jan. Yes. Lack of.
I say limited is optimistic.
Right.
So we shifted to plan B.
Plan B.
So plan B was.
So there were several properties designed by her.
Yeah, there's several,
Okay, yeah.
of which the one up on the top of the hill is by far the most interesting.
Yeah.
And that's the one that we presented to the state for the sidewalk and stuff, but, we'll, circle back with that, but there are 2 of her houses side by side. So, and I know that, there was, so it's also a good location, it's just not as good because these 2 houses don't stand in magnificent isolation the way the other one does. Yeah, so it's an awesome ramp, but I don't think it's a bad. I'm walking over there, kind of looking at spots where it might,
Okay.
so we talk about that too, before we talk about it.
Okay.
But yeah, there are a couple of options I think look at. So, we'll see that. I'm meeting with Kathleen, on actually Wednesday, talking about trying to plan a Dartmouth walking tour for probably May. So,
As in residential neighborhoods?
no, I don't know. I'm kind of liking that, So yeah, it's kind of great, but yeah, I mean, it's really nice to get people outside. Today was such a nice day. I think people are gonna want to outside even more.
Yeah.
So,
I think that will be very popular. I think that'd be very well received.
yeah. So.
Okay. No, anything else?
Nothing else.
Adjourn. So.
Okie dokie.
Goes.